children. I'll tell you a story. Tell you a story about John Henry, steel driving man. Now, a long, long time ago, this is how young people like yourselves gain knowledge. This is how you learned about your history and the people that came before you. You would sit around the fire and you would tell stories. Stories about famous people, powerful people that once walked on this earth. Today I'm going to tell you a story about me, John Henry, steel driving man. A long, long time ago, when I was born, people say that the storm clouds rolled in, lightning flashed and thunder roared through the sky, and God himself reached down from heaven and he put this hammer in my little baby hand. But that's not always a good thing, because I was told that someday this hammer might be the death of me. And it wasn't always good times either. See, I was born a slave. My mama and my papa were slaves. That made me a slave. Being a slave meant that you had to do work. You had to do a job and you wouldn't get paid for it. And the people that owned you kept your freedom away from you. And you weren't allowed to do the things that you wanted to do. You had no choices. And when you did the job wrong, you got beat and whipped. And that's the way the life was for me and my mama and my papa when I was growing up. Being a slave means you're poor. So I didn't have any toys when I was little. All I had was this hammer and this steel. I didn't have any Barbie dolls or teddy bears. I didn't have any action figures, no PSP video games. All I had was the things that was laying around the house. And that's what I played with, like this piece of steel. I used to play fishy with this piece of steel. Y'all want to see how I played little fishy with this piece of steel?
Yeah. Make it a fish.
See? Little fishy. One day when I was playing little fishy, I started to cry. My daddy said, "Hey, John Henry, boy, why you crying?" I said, "I'm sad, Daddy, because I'm afraid that someday this hammer is going to be the death of me." My daddy picked me up, put me on his knee, and he said, "John Henry, don't cry. Don't worry about that. You see, it doesn't matter how you die on this earth. What matters is how you live on this earth." You see, my mom and my daddy, even though we were slaves, they taught me how to be a good person, treat people nice, and to help my family and to help my friends whenever I had the chance. And that's the rules that they made me follow, because they were good people. But one day my mama and my daddy, they passed away. And when I grew up a slave. But one day, you all have heard that story before. One day, another great man, his name was President Abraham Lincoln. President Abraham Lincoln didn't like slavery. And he did away with slavery. And he made it so every man didn't have to wear chains to be slaves anymore. He made it possible for every man to be free here in this United States. And now that I'm a free man, I can go out and get a job, and I can raise a family. Well, I got a job with the C&O company. The C&O company came up and he said, John Henry, we'd like to use you and your hammer to help build a railroad from one end of the United States all the way to the other. And I said, I'm a free man, but I don't work for free. They said, John Henry, we're going to pay you a house and some property. And we need 100 people to help build these railroad tracks. So I went and I got all my friends together. And all my friends and myself, we were promised that we would be paid a house and property if we helped the C&O company build a railroad across the United States. And it's good. It's good to have a job. It's good to have a dream. Now, I followed my dream. So I wanted to have a house and raise a family someday. Well, one day we came up to the base of a mountain. It's called the Big Bend Mountain. And the Big Bend Mountain was miles into the sky. And it was miles around. And the C&O company said that mountain's too big to build a railroad track around it. They said that mountain is too high to build a railroad track over it. We're going to have to build through that mountain. We need to make some tunnels. And that railroad track will go through that mountain and on across the United States. That made me and my friends real happy because that was going to take a long time to do that. That means we were going to be working and getting paid the whole time. But the C&O company came up to us and said, John Henry, you and all your friends are fired. Y'all can just take your tools and go somewhere else. The C&O company doesn't need your help anymore. And I asked the C&O company, how are you going to go through that mountain without me and 100 of my friends? They said, we got a steam drilling machine. And this steam drilling machine, one machine can do the work of 100 people. Well, it made my friends very, very sad. If any of y'all know me, I don't like it when my friends are sad. So I challenged that steam drilling machine. I went to the C&O company and I said, I'll race that machine through that mountain. I bet you that I'll come out that side of the mountain first before that steam drilling machine. The C&O company just laughed. They knew that was impossible. I said, but if I beat that steam drilling machine and I get through that mountain, then you have to give all me and my friends, you have to give us all homes and property to live on. C&O company said, I'll take that challenge, John Henry, because there ain't no way you're going to beat that machine. Well, that machine rolled up to the base of that mountain, and that machine's wheels started turning, that steam started coming out of it, and a huge explosion happened when that machine started drilling. BAM! That machine started going through that mountain. I knew I couldn't hesitate any longer. I started swinging that hammer into that mountain, smashing them rocks and moving that dirt. I worked for many days, many weeks. One time I remember, I stopped, wiped the sweat off my brow. Stopped, got a drink of water. And I looked, and that steam drilling machine just kept on drilling. That steam drilling machine didn't take a break for water. That steam drilling machine didn't take a break to rest. It just kept on drilling. So I knew what I had to do. If my friends were depending on me, I wasn't going to be able to stop anymore. I wasn't going to be able to take a break. I was going to have to work harder than I ever worked before. And I couldn't quit. Because people were dependent on me. So I started swinging that hammer as hard as I could. Crushing them rocks. Moving that dirt. I swing that hammer so hard one time, the hammer broke. And now I'm standing inside that mountain, and that steam drill machine's still drilling, and I don't have a hammer. I yelled down the tunnel to my friends, bring me another hammer! My friends started running with more hammers. But I'm standing there with nothing in my hand, and that steam drill machine is still digging. So I knew what I had to do. I had to use my bare hands. to break them rocks and to move that dirt. While I was digging, and that machine kept digging, all my friends in the C&O company ran around the other side of that mountain, and they stood there at the base of that mountain waiting to see who was going to come through it first. And all of a sudden, the earth started to shake. That mountain started to move, and there was a huge explosion. BAM! Big puff of smoke came from the base of that mountain. When all the smoke settled and all the dust cleared, and there was nothing but an open hole at the end of that mountain, and standing inside that was me, John Henry. I beat that machine. And all my friends started to celebrate. All my friends started to celebrate.
There you go, John Henry! Woo!
They was happy. That made me happy. I could see the smiles on their faces. It was my responsibility because I made them a promise. And I followed through with my responsibilities. But as they were celebrating, I couldn't celebrate because I was tired and my heart hurt. And once I saw the smiles on their faces, I knew my job was done. And my body just quit on me. I dropped to my knees, I hung my head, and I died. But don't be sad for John Henry. Don't be sad because there's a little bit of John Henry in each and every one of you. Anytime your friends need help, give them a helping hand. Anytime a job seems too big, you got to try because you have responsibilities. And you got to work as hard as you can, and you can't quit no matter how hard it might be. And anytime you look into the horizon, and you see the storm clouds rolling in, you hear that thunder rumble and that lightning flash, don't be scared. It's not a storm. That's just me, John Henry, up in heaven, smashing them rocks, moving that dirt. Children, take care. John Henry, he's a mighty man, born with a hammer in his hand. John Henry, he's a mighty man, died with a hammer in his hand.